countries with the highest suicide mortality in the year 1987 to 2015.
A lawmaker in the House of Representatives said that the Philippines has one of the highest cases of depression in Southeast Asia, affecting more than 3 million Filipinos. According to CNN Philippines, close to 800,000 people die due to suicide every year. For every suicide, there are many more people who attempt suicide every year. With World Suicide Prevention Day celebrated this month of September, the group decided to use the said topic in order to inform our fellow classmates regarding the importance of mental health and suicide prevention. And considering our current situation, it is right to fully inform the public regarding the said issue. It is time to talk about suicide with the aim to bring its number down to zero.
Dataset from World Health Organization suicide statistics consists of 36,060 examples with 6 attributes, namely country, sex, age, year, suicide number, and population.
For our first visualization data is we use box plot to showcase age range with most suicide mortality data. And from 15 to 21st old, it has less than 5,000 cases. And for 25 to 31 years old, we have 10,000 cases. And for our highest data is from 35 to 54 years old is 20,000 plus cases. And the least data we got is 0 cases from ages 5 to 14 years old. And the next is 54 to 74 years old is more than 10,000 cases. And for the last data is from 75 years above is more or less 5,000. And according to the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, leading cause of death reports ages 35 to 54 years individual, suicide is the most leading cause of death. Rates have increased more sharply since 2006. Suicide ranked as the leading cause of death for people ages 35 to 54 years old, according to American Psychological Association. For our second visualization data, named countries with most number of suicide mortality, we use spline graph to showcase top countries with most number of suicide mortality recorded. And we have the top 3 countries, which is Kazakhstan, St. Lucia, and Uzbekistan. And for St. Lucia, which is the most number, which has 20,000 cases. And the second one is Uzbekistan with 10,000 and Kazakhstan with less than 10,000 cases. As stated by University of Central Asia, compared to the global suicide rate, in Central Asia, rates of suicide mostly exceed it, while in North America, St. Lucia has the highest number of suicide for the years 1987 to 2015.
In the given data below, you can see that the mortality rate for suicide are being lessened since 1994, when it peaked on more than 20,000 deaths. And according to Statista, they have gathered a research that says that there were only 14 suicide deaths per 100,000 people on 2017. As you can see in the given data below, men has a higher tendency to attempt suicide, while the female has the higher chance to succeed under plot to commit suicide. According to JAMA's research, the reason why female has a higher chance to succeed on committing suicide than the boys is because the girls prefer more lethal ways on committing suicide, like hanging themselves or by suffocation, while the boys prefer the use of firearms. Given the data below, we can see that the highest rate for suicidal attempts came from the ages 35 to 54, followed by the ages 55 to 74. Furthermore, the data gathered by the NCHS shows that the suicidal rate is rising sharply for males ages 45 to 64, with 30 deaths per 100,000 people, followed by the females that has an age of 45 to 64, with a total of 10 deaths per 100,000 people.
So for the final slide, here is our summary. Suicide is one of the most common cause of death, especially for the young people. But the suicide rate for older in most countries is higher than of any other age. Comprehensively, this data shows that suicide is more common to happen in women than the men population. As said earlier, the country with the highest suicide mortality rate is Santa Lucia, followed by USA and Japan. In the visualization, we can see how the number of suicides is increasing throughout the year.
Much can be done to prevent suicide. So to prevent the fast-growing number of suicides, here are the 4 key interventions which have proven to be effective by World Health Organization. First is restricting access to means. Second, working with the media to ensure responsible reporting of suicide. Third is helping young people develop skills to cope with life's pressures. The last is early identification and management of people who are thinking about suicide or who have made a suicide attempt, keeping follow-up contact in the short and longer term.